6:31, so if possible, I'd like to be the first to call the meeting to order. And looking at who we have in attendance tonight, I would, and our roles, I would like to recommend that Jim chair the meeting tonight.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I think we can, comfortable with that?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, let's go on to the minutes. Can we get a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Any questions on the minutes?
No, they were pretty short, but very concise and represented our previous meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we have no public hearing tonight, thank God. Let's see if this is our fifth member. Yes. Okay, new business. Oak tree.
Chair, members of the commission, thank you. Tonight we'll be reviewing Phase 2 of the final plat of Oak Tree. So if you are familiar with the site, to get your bearings a little bit, the property line to the east is Jonathan Carver Parkway. This project is just south of Carver Crossing and north of Carver Square, so where the dental clinic is and where the Children of Tomorrow Child Care Center are. The project has been before you several times. We have reviewed a final plat for this project previously. Phase 1 is highlighted on the colored rendering. So that was a review of 63 units. It was before the Planning Commission in April of 2018. So this is Phase 2. You can see in the red dotted lines, it's 18 single-family homes to be considered tonight. As part of this project, there are 4 phases for the project. So this is flipped to get your bearings correctly. So Jonathan Carver Parkway is running north-south on this one. You can see Phase 1 is the previously approved that does abut Jonathan Carver Parkway. 2 is what we're discussing tonight. It's in the center of the screen. 3 wraps from the northwest corner down to the south center of the screen. And then 4 is the southwest corner. So tonight, again, we are just discussing the 18 lots that are in the center. So the lots tonight are a little bit larger than what we've seen in this development previously. They range from about 63 feet wide to 70 feet. There will be an extension of Maple Drive coming off White Pine Way. The 18 lots that are up for final plat tonight are consistent with the PRD R2 zoning that we've previously held the public hearing on, discussed, and has gone through City Council. Some information from the landscaping plan. You'll see that this section of the project does abut the large outlot that has some of the bluff features and the trees that are in the center. So these abut that, but also do include trees in each lot throughout the development and is consistent with the preliminary landscape plan and the final landscape plan that have previously been reviewed by the Planning Commission and City Council. So a pretty small request tonight with just 18 lots for final plat, with anticipation of 2 additional phases, Phase 3 being the big lift of the amount of units in this development. So I will open it up for questions, discussion. There are representatives from the development team in the room tonight if you have specific questions about the project.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. I saw in the notes that there will be a sidewalk on one side of whatever the street is.
Maple Way.
Yeah, I didn't see it on the drawings that were included in the packet. Has there been a decision on where it is?
Yes, so it runs, I'm gonna go back one. So it's on the west side of the property. So if you, the center would,
Okay.
sorry, east, it's on the east, this is flipped. So it's along the side that is closest to the outlot.
Side that is closest to the outlet. Okay.
Correct. And if you'll recall, that outlet does have that fantastic trail running through it.
Yep.
That is a great feature for the development as well.
Okay.
And what, you have this up, is it the area outlined in red on that bottom left colored?
Correct. So those are the 18 units for final plat tonight.
Thank you.
So we don't have any houses up at all,
Correct.
and we're already doing phase 2?
So I will admit that's partially my fault. They are in for 2 permits, but something that I like to make sure of before I release permits at a staff level is that my team is able to get to the units. So thinking about my inspections team, when they go out there for the footing and foundation inspections, I like to have them have a pretty clear route, so it's not an issue for them to get out there in their truck or their car. So I'm working pretty closely with Lennar right now. I anticipate releasing 2 permits next week. So they were doing some mass site work, and I just wanted to make sure that it was safe for my inspections team, as well as emergency vehicles that might need to get in there. So they have some of the lots staked, but we needed to work a little bit on that clear access, so it was quick and easy if anyone needed it to be.
I think when they originally came in, they were talking about 3 years for build-out. Is that still the case, or is it going to move along faster?
I will likely deflect that question to Mark if you would like to come up.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mark Sonstigar with the Lennar Land Team. The reason we're coming in with this plat right now is this brings in the 3rd product for the Oak Tree development, which is the larger single-family homes on the larger lots. So as we planned this site, our goal was to have the villa area model and then the smaller lots that you see in the north east corner, that model open, and then a 3rd model also open for spring preview. So all this is, we're gearing up to being open and ready for most of our sales to start next spring. It just takes time to get the lots ready and completed.
Okay.
So, but we're still looking at a 3-year build-out.
And there are 4 total phases planned, correct?
Correct.
Are the remaining phases also this larger lot size, similar homes to the phase 2?
The next phase will be the rest. In phase 1 was all the villa lots.
Okay, sorry. I didn't have this in my, okay,
So, yeah.
okay, so, all right, so let me rephrase my question. So phase 2, part of phase 3 and phase 4 would all be that larger lot.
Correct.
Okay.
So the next phase, which will
Will be a mix.
a mix, yes. It'll be the rest of the smaller lots and a
then
good portion of
The
the
larger lots that'll continue along Maple Lane.
Right,
Because along Maple Lane, it's all the same format of home.
correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So we'll be, our plan would be to build phase 3 or do the development for phase 3 next year. So that'd be 2019, so we'd be selling homes on those lots in 2020. So
Okay.
we're always, development, we're a year and a half ahead of actually building the homes.
Okay.
I have a twofold question on the phase 2. What would be like a possible earliest close date and someone could move in? And what is the price range for the product?
So phase 2, the earliest close date would be, well, our plan is to build phase 2 this year, get the streets in, and then start that 3rd model to be open for spring preview, which is in February. So February, early March. So our plan would be to start selling in that time. So we anticipate the first closings in that phase 2 would be next summer. That makes sense?
like June, July?
Somewhere around there, depends on where the sales are, but we'd be ready for closings in June. And then the price range, this is a step up from the other. Right now, the single families would be in the mid 300s. These would be in the upper 300s, pushing 400 for these larger lots.
And then just for my reference, so I'm sorry, I don't know what the north-south street road is to the very west.
That's
That
okay.
connects into Copper Hills, maybe?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So the homes that are along that street, I assume, are the similar larger lot size, single-family homes.
Correct.
Are the lot sizes in width similar to what are in Copper Hills? And that adjacent? I
They
thought
are,
they were. just-
yes.
Yeah, okay.
The lots in phase 2 and 3, they range from in the low 60s to 70s, which is consistent with Copper Hills.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Are there for questions?
Yeah, I wasn't here for the preliminary plat on this development. That's why I have so many questions. I'm so sorry.
Totally fine.
I missed that meeting
Okay,
way back.
that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you want an approval for the final plat?
Yes.
Anybody want to make a motion on the approval of the final plat?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You good?
Good, thank you.
All right, let's
Thank you.
move on to item, thank you very much.
Thank you.
5.2, Lakeview Industries, concept plan.
Thank you. Chair, members of the commission, tonight we are reviewing a concept plan for a light industrial use near Fleet Farm in the city of Carver. So to get your bearings, the map on the screen, the star shows where the site is. So just north of the Fleet Farm off Levi Griffin Road, near the intersection of Highway 212 and Jonathan Carver Parkway. On the screen right now is also the preliminary site plan for the project. You'll see the building in kind of the yellowish orange is the building for the first phase of their development. So at this time, it's roughly 143,000 square feet. This design is still being modified a bit by the Lakeview team as well as city staff, but this is just a general idea of what it might look like, subject to change as we start to learn more about the site and the project. There are 2 future expansions that are proposed on the site, not to be considered tonight, but sometime in the future they likely will be moving forward. So phase 1 is the 90,000 square foot addition, and phase 2 is actually a second building of about the same size as the first proposed building. So a little bit of detail about Lakeview Industries and what they do. They're currently in the city of Chaska, and they've been in business for over 30 years. They manufacture and fabricate flexible components, including gaskets, die cuts, molded rubber parts, extrusions, and weather stripping. Please don't ask me specifically what half of those are. And the markets that they serve include medical, recreation, agriculture, aerospace, telecommunications, so on and so forth. And customers that I thought might have a little bit more name recognition, there are several on their website, include Pentair, Medtronic, Bobcat, Toro, Polaris, Fastenal. And it's anticipated that 85 jobs will be at the Carver facility. So this will greatly increase the daytime population we have in the city of Carver, which is exciting to start to generate some more commercial use throughout the city. The city manager, mayor, and I had the opportunity to tour Lakeview Industries a couple weeks ago, and it was really interesting and fascinating to think about the things that they make there. It's often the things that make our lives easier that we don't recognize are parts. So something that we saw the manufacturing of is the slit where you put a CD in your car, the little plastic, almost like mouth of where the CD goes, they were manufacturing that. A part that we don't recognize as a part probably, but definitely makes things easier for us. Renderings of the building, again, pretty preliminary at this stage, but an idea of what the building might look like. This would be a great opportunity if you have thoughts, feelings, opinions about any of this information. The developer is in the room. It's also a great time for staff to get some direction. Thinking through the comprehensive plan, the property is guided as an industrial use, so no comp plan amendment will be required. There will be a rezoning if we choose to move forward, so rezoning from an agricultural use to light industrial, but it does meet the intention of our 2030 comprehensive plan. If you guys want to open it up for discussion, questions, comments, there are members from Lakeview here, so if they're really specific, I might default to them, but just general concept level thoughts, feelings.
The 85 jobs, that's with the original, the initial building, or is that final number? Okay.
Yeah, come over and talk into a microphone, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Can I add a follow-up to that? Of those jobs that are coming, how many of those are head of household jobs of the 85?
I don't have that answer, but we can provide that. There are around 85 jobs that will be here when they move in, and there will be growth from there too.
So are you keeping your existing facility in Chaska, or are you relocating to this?
There are actually 2 facilities in Chaska now, one that's
Okay.
owned, where they have their corporate headquarters and manufacturing, and they have an off-site warehouse where they'll be combining both of these into this facility
Okay,
and doing something else with their owned facility then. Not for their own use though.
okay, so their planning is
Seller lease.
is to migrate their existing
Yep.
business.
All of their business will
Here.
be into this building, correct?
Okay,
Something that's really exciting about this proposal is the range of jobs that will be in the facility as well. So it is some of those manufacturing jobs, but also customer service, engineering, some office use. So it runs a gamut of the demographic that we'll be hitting as well, which is exciting.
okay, so I work in manufacturing. Can you describe in a little bit more detail the types of operations that are done to manufacture these products so I get a better understanding of the equipment that is used? Or the types of processes?
Well, they have a team that will work with clients who have a need for a product, and they will help design that product and then take parts and manufacture it. So they have a wide variety of manufacturing equipment or machines,
Okay,
anywhere from adhesives that they may put on a weather stripping, but it's a very wide variety.
okay.
Ryan, will you share what your role is in this project?
I am the broker.
Oh, I see. Okay, so maybe I'm not maybe asking the right person for this question, but
Yep.
I guess I'm just trying to understand. I mean, I saw the description of the types of materials, so I can imagine things like injection molding, screw machine, extrusion molding type equipment.
Yeah, water jet.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe some sheet metal fabrication or metal fabrication.
Yeah, I mean,
equipment.
they do a lot, and
Okay.
I mean that's part of why they're great. They're very flexible to help solve clients' solutions or problems.
Do you know how many shifts they plan to run at this facility?
I believe 2.
They operate 2 right now.
Okay. Would they ever consider doing 3?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
What about the byproducts? If we have any, heavy concerns about chemicals or waste materials that should require any special precautions?
Anything they have, they deal with appropriately by law, and not that I'm aware of that there would be any issues. They run a very good operation.
In applying some language from the city code, I don't foresee it being a nuisance use, which includes vapors, smell, noise. Having an opportunity to tour their facility and see some of their everyday operations, I don't foresee any adverse impact.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the question would be also if they have any byproduct of their production that they need to dispose of that could require some specific requirements. But, yeah, I mean, if you didn't see anything in there, then
Yeah.
they probably don't have any. They would need to have some kind of facilities in their existing facility to handle that kind of
Right.
disposal.
How about water usage?
Good question.
Doesn't sound like you would use a lot of water, but
Yeah, they do use a decent amount of water, and they build that back into their system as well, and are mindful of, I guess, recycling, reusing, and stewards of the environment, if you will.
While we were on the tour, we saw a piece of equipment that was using water, and we toured with the president of Lakeview, and he shared with us that they recognized that their water bills were excruciatingly high a few years ago, and they were actually able to design a recapture system in their machines, so they are able to recycle the water, cut down on use, but also cut down their bill too.
What do they think the timing might be on phase 2, potentially? I mean, is it like a 5-year? Is it something shorter on a horizon, or?
Yeah, it could be 5 years. The facility itself, that will be phase 1, they will occupy around 2/3 of that.
Okay.
And they're trying to build in excess space, which would hopefully be leased out to another tenant in the interim.
Okay.
And so that's one thing that drew them to this site, was the ability to expand their business and grow and not be stuck in a position that they are currently in right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on how they grow into that first built-in expansion they have, and how long that takes.
Okay.
has our fire department seen this?
Yes, we've circulated the plans. So as we start to get some more information, as we move through the platting process, they'll do a formal review. But yes, they are aware of the project.
Do they think they're going to need a ladder truck?
Oof, that is a question to ask Dan Meyer, I think.
Chair,
This is a 2-story building, right?
This is a 1-story building.
Okay.
We put windows on the top to make it more appealing to the eye, as well as bringing more natural light into the facility for the workers.
How high is the actual ceiling? Is it storage air space? Like
Yes, this
accessible
building is
via
designed to
forklift?
be a manufacturing and warehouse building, to store product as well as to manufacture. So the height between the floor and the bar joists would be 32 feet, so there's 4 more feet? About 36 feet to the roof.
Something that was really interesting about the tour too is they have so much of the product on hand that they need to store that they work throughout the day. So a lot of it was storage that needed to go up instead of out. So they would finish a batch and be able to go and grab more product and continue working.
I'd just like to say thank you. If you could thank your client for choosing Carver to come here. I know, the heights in the manufacturing, this meets modern manufacturing needs, and that it's difficult to expand or renovate existing buildings, maybe, which is why they were looking for different space. So I'm thankful we had the green space here in Carver, that there's still going to be some, synergy. And in the design, I think it looks very appealing for the use. The concern I have is really not so much with the first phase, but just something to note for the second phase. I see for the first phase, you do have some stormwater ponds to capture the runoff, because you've got a lot of pavement here before it hits some of those existing wetlands area. But I don't see much of a buffer there for phase 2, especially looking at Plan North. You have parking on that north side of the rear of the building, and then abutting up to an existing wetland. So I wondered if there was going to be, and maybe it's too premature, but in the future, if there would be any other mitigation methods that might be considered instead of having the parking lot abut so close to that existing wetland.
Sure. So the applicant right now is working on a wetland delineation, and then the Carver County WMO, the Water Management Organization, will need to review this project and make sure it does meet their warrants for buffering. But point well taken.
My other question also relates to future phase-out with the storm ponds. They look like pretty significant size, but I'm wondering if these storm ponds were built out with the future phases in mind, or if additional water collection areas will have to be created.
Sure. I'm under the impression that the stormwater ponds can accommodate the entire site. So instead of going back and having to redesign them, they'll go in once and accommodate the site.
Thank you.
Sure.
I do want to make a comment. I like about the design. I like the way the two phases are designed such that the dock doors are sort of together. Because, you know, as you noted in the previous slide about sort of the comprehensive plan and what's surrounding that, right? You've already got Fleet Farm to the south. I think east and west are industrial areas, but to the north is residential, right? But what we have facing residential in this design is an office front with parking. It's not dock doors. So I appreciate that that sort of is kind of contained in the middle of the development. I think that also probably helps with some of the traffic in and out along DeWalter Road as well. So I like that piece of it, particularly in how it's going to fit in our city.
Along that line, DeWalter Road is the road that runs east of the gas station?
Correct.
Okay.
So,
So this will just be a continuation across.
yes.
What about now it's, if I remember, it's a dirt road that goes into the water tower?
So
Is there any intent that that would probably be upgraded to a paved road for the site?
the city uses that as an access tower, or an access to the water tower. As part of our discussion through the concept plan, we're going to work on the access spacing a little bit. Brian Skoke, our public services director, would have a preference to not allow traffic on that road, but something we'll work through with the applicant in the design phase.
Okay.
Question for either the representative or Aaron, from what you saw touring their facility. Company seems like it's more manufacturing, but obviously with the dock doors and so forth, there's probably some distribution and/or the clientele picking up product. Obviously increasing traffic flow, semi-trucks and so forth. From what you saw, maybe Aaron, what at their current facility, what's the approximate trucks that maybe would be on site at a given time, or increasing the traffic flow or so forth?
So I think comparing it to their current site is a little bit tricky since they're in two locations. It was quite a bit of back and forth with some of the truck traffic. From some of the preliminary studies that our city engineer has done, Levi Griffin is a future collector road. So right now it's a collector, but it's relatively small. But it is anticipated to have some of that more industrial use of traffic, and the infrastructure is built to accommodate that. So I can't speak specifically to the amount of trucks that are going to be back and forth, but we do have the capacity in our infrastructure.
Is it primarily smaller trucks or big? I'm guessing you probably don't have a lot of large trucks. Or am I wrong?
What, like a semi? We are anticipating semi-traffic.
You are.
53-footers?
Yeah, I think it's a combination.
Because I assume they have suppliers that are bringing things in on semi, and they probably have materials leaving on semi.
I would be interested in seeing if it does come to that where it's semis, the 18-wheeler, is that, do I have that right? If the city can put limitations on the time frame.
That's
I
kind
don't
of
know if
why
we
I
have an
asked about
ordinance.
shifts.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know
So
if
if
we
we're
have an
talking
ordinance in
about
place.
first shift, second shift, right? That's kind of during the daytime hours versus a third shift, which would be potentially impactful
Yeah,
for.
but like if there's any regulation or, would we want to work towards that for like a receiving dock? What are operational hours?
I don't know if we have any limitations currently on Fleet Farm.
I was just going to say, I
Yeah,
don't know if
actually,
anything.
I don't know what
and
it is there.
Yeah.
I'm going to just play devil's advocate for just a moment. We don't have any housing or not, in that area, and there's quick access, very close access to the highway, which I'm guessing that they're going to get on. So while I appreciate the question, it doesn't, for me personally, it doesn't rise that level of concern to put that kind of restriction on that area.
Yeah, I mean, to my point earlier, having sort of the dock areas in between the facilities does keep the truck traffic away from potential residential north, right? Because they'll come in through Levi Griffin Road and go up and then go back down. They're not,
There's a natural
Yeah.
barrier there.
yeah, I'd agree.
Well, in all honesty, this is kind of what we wanted there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been,
And
it's
we
been
don't
part
really
of our
have any
comprehensive plan
residential.
discussions for years. Absolutely. So it is a perfect fit.
May I add something to that? So, I'm a broker. I sell and buy commercial real estate. And with this being in a guided industrial zone with commercial adjacent on one side and I think more industrial guided the other way, it's kind of in the middle of what would be industrial. And so it would be problematic from our perspective if we have many restrictions like that, because what we want to do is try to build a bigger facility. We don't build this just for us. We build this for our exit too in 20, 30 years, whatever that might be. And just restrictions like that, are challenging when comparing to other industrial zoned locations within other cities.
So, do you need anything from us tonight?
No, there's no formal action tonight. It's just a chance for you to see it for the first time, start some dialogue, give staff some direction as we start to work through some of this process with the developer.
Yeah, when do we expect to see a preliminary plat?
Sure, so this one, if things go according to plan, is going to be pretty fast and furious. They were hoping earlier this summer to have a dig date of September, so it's going to go pretty quick. So
Okay.
anticipate that some of those processes might run simultaneously. So at a future meeting, we might be reviewing rezoning, preliminary plat, final plat.
Is this also part of property that needs to be acquired as well into the city of Carver, or is this already in?
It's currently within
Okay.
the city limits. So
Okay.
no annexation, no comp plan amendment, but rezoning, preliminary plat, final plat to come.
Got it.
I have what I think is just one last kind of to confirm. So just to summarize, currently they have two physical facilities, the headquarters and the warehouse. Or it's manufacturing plus warehouse.
So their main owned facility in Chaska is 40,000 square feet. They have office, manufacturing, and some storage. And their other facility is all warehouse storage that is leased, also in Chaska.
So this would consolidate it to
Correct.
put them at
Yep.
one
So-
physical location.
Yep, so they consolidate and grow at the same time.
Yeah, he
And then
did
is
say
the
that it would be
current
about-
employee count 80-time FTE, full-time employees? How many contractors are contingent? Is the 85 what you anticipate to go to, or what is the current head count?
So we were a little less than 85 a couple months ago, and they've already done some hiring. So the 85 is an estimate that we had just recently, but those I'll have to confirm, but I think are full-time employees.
Is there additional contingent or contractors?
I don't know. Yeah.
I would just be curious more just for the volume of traffic, or, I mean, positive things too, just, more employment opportunities here within City
Yeah.
of Carver.
I mean, his comment earlier that migrating their existing operations to this facility would only take up about 2/3 of the first phase building. So they're obviously planning for some quick
A
growth.
lot of growth. Good point.
And I think
Positive.
this project helps spur a lot more for the facility or the city with commercial.
Yes.
They like to follow rooftops, but they also need the daytime population. And so that's one thing that we were thinking about is there aren't a lot of services in the city yet, but I think with hopefully our move there as well as more growth, then more of that will come.
Agreed.
Something I know that has been discussed at past meetings, particularly in this area, when it comes to solar and renewable energy and so forth, is that something that would potentially maybe be considered for a build-out or anything like that in this area?
Yeah, that is in consideration right now.
And I believe our ordinance would allow them to put it on the roof or,
Yeah.
Correct.
We were thinking ahead, right?
That's right.
Well, I'm very excited about this project. Thank you again for choosing Carver, and I think this fits very well with what our vision is, so thank you.
Thank you. We're excited as well.
I would second that.
good.
Where,
really good.
where are they located now? I mean,
Near Chanhassen High School, basically
okay.
one facility is just a little south and one's a little west.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got
Okay. Any communications tonight?
I assume we'll be having an August meeting?
The August meeting is going to be hefty. Maybe bring some snacks.
Okay.
Trying to think, when is the August meeting?
What was that?
When-
16th?
16th. Yep.
16th.
16th is what I have on my calendar.
I am probably going to be gone.
Okay.
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Unknown, most likely gone.
Okay. I'll maybe try to get a pulse on that over the next couple of weeks. I do need a quorum for that meeting, and I'm anticipating several action items. So if it does become an issue, there might be a rescheduled date.
Okay.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, unless anybody has anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.